Sila.
Hi, Sakina, your producers and to our listeners. Sakina, look, I'm so happy that Begitele is finally gone. But what he has left behind, it's a mess. And I'm not too sure whether if the
Vugani Ngobo says the government of national unity for disingenuous ANC's sees they didn't win the election outright, so they can't dictate to other political parties. They need to negotiate in good faith, and so other parties' conditions, eventually we need a working government sooner or later. Koshimpete Mtinde says, afternoon Sakina, these parties show that they don't care about us, they care about themselves and which portfolio opposition they want. Mpetu says it's about time government do away with deputy posts. Ministers are not being replaced by their deputies for the reason that Mercedes was explaining. They are not part of cabinet. So the ministers are, so that's why a minister will replace another minister, but the deputy can't step up. So that's another conversation, one that has been waging for a while. And Brian says, it's just the gravy train. Deputy ministerial positions are even more sought after than parliamentary seats. There's no work at all and fat check to be collected every month, not to mention the benefits. MPs actually have to attend some meetings even if they sleep through them. And Nati says, I was not single, so I was sent into stitches by a circulating clip which suggests that Parley can't continue if there's a huge number absent. What number is huge? I think Mercedes Percent debunked that for you. 134, a third to correct for that first sitting to actually nominate and vote for the president, the speaker, deputy speaker, and the president. That's what is needed. So that needs to happen within the next 6 days as per the constitutional provisions. We'll let you know if there are any further developments there.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
So this story, and very briefly, we need to get into it quickly, but the trial of a husband and wife, Sbusiso and Lerato Mahlangu, accused of killing Lerato's former boyfriend and the father of her child, Sbusiso Sitebe, has resumed in the High Court in Pretoria. Now, the two are accused of killing Sitebe so that they could claim a 500,000 rand life insurance policy. The state alleges that the deceased was invited to the couple's home where he was attacked by the husband before setting him alight. But for further details and to tell us what happened in court, here's Phumzile Mlangeni. Phumzile, good afternoon. I'm going to hand it over to you in the interest of time just to talk us through what we need to know and, of course, what's happened in court.
Well, Sakina, just to mention the matter that they were arrested last year, but the trial started, and today we heard a police witness, that is Captain Fanolo Molefe, who told the court that Sibusiso Sitebe, Sibusiso Mahlangu, who is accused number one, did confess during questioning while he was in police cells to say that he indeed killed the deceased. He thought he was an intruder as he entered his house through the window, and then he doused him with petrol and set him alight. That is his version that he has told the court, according to the police, and that his wife as well, they planned this and plotted this. It happened after a family gathering, and later on the couple told the family that they would be going to Mpumalanga, but the family was surprised later to get calls that their house was on fire. And when they got there, the wife told them that it was the husband who died in that fire, and the family of the husband could not even identify him. That's what we heard from the husband's sister, who is also testifying to say that the wife did indeed identify, and they buried him without identifying. So they were under the impression that he is really deceased. So that is where the matter is at this stage. But we did hear from the defense while defending to say that there was no such, and that the deceased had gone away somewhere in Mpumalanga to get some time off. So at this stage, we are still continuing to hear the evidence from the sister, who also believed that his brother was gone, according to his wife, Lerato.
Phumzile Mlangeni, we'll try and make more time tomorrow just to give greater context to the story, because I don't think we have done justice with enough time just to explain in greater detail exactly what is alleged and what is alleged to have happened to the deceased and why. But of course, we have to leave it there because our time is up. Thanks to the production team. Thanks to everybody who tuned in and participated. Mundupi Makhalimele has your latest news.
Thank you very much, Sakina. The top stories are Sawa, 4 suspects killed in a KZN shootout and a wage agreement at Petra Diamonds. A very good afternoon. 4 suspects have been killed during a shootout with police in Harding on the KZN South Coast. Police have launched a manhunt for 2 suspects who fled the scene. Spokesperson Robert Netsiunda says it is believed that a businessman had withdrawn money from a bank at a shopping center in the area.
Police approached the suspects who had just committed the robbery, and suspects defied police orders and opened fire. Police returned fire and 4 suspects were fatally wounded during the shootout. Police are still chasing after more suspects who fled the scene in 2 vehicles. A firearm as well as the money which was robbed was found in the possession of the suspects. Anyone with information regarding the whereabouts of the suspects is urged to contact the nearest police station or call the Crime Stop number 08600 101.
The city of Joburg says it'll fine political parties 500 rand for each unremoved poster displayed during campaigning for the elections. It says that all posters must be removed within 14 days after the polls. Spokesperson Virgil James says it is a contravention of the city's bylaws not to remove the posters.
The City of Johannesburg's outdoor advertising bylaws states that any poster must be removed by the person displaying it within 14 days after the conclusion of the election, failing which the council shall, within 14 days of the conclusion of the election, notify the relevant party to remove the posters within a time period specified, failing which the council may remove the posters itself against a prescribed fee of 500 rand per poster payable by the relevant party.
3 children have died following a fire that gutted their home over the weekend at Subatsfontein near Honderklipbaai in the Northern Cape. 2 girls aged 2 and 8 and a 4-year-old boy died in the blaze. A 25-year-old woman who was found outside the burning house escaped with minor burn wounds. An inquest docket has been opened following the fire. Police spokesperson Cheryl Yellis.
Police in Honderklipbaai are investigating an inquest after the death of 3 children. The incident occurred at a residence in Subatsfontein. On arrival at the scene of the blaze, police found a 25-year-old woman outside a residence with burn wounds. Upon further investigation, 3 children were found deceased in a bedroom, including 2 girls aged 8 and 2 years old and a 4-year-old boy. The cause of the fire is under investigation.
The National Union of Mine Workers has signed a 5-year wage agreement with the mining company Petra Diamonds. The agreement is an extension of the 2021 to 2024 wage deal between the parties. It is said to be based on salary increases, excluding all allowances, non-salary related bonuses and gratuities. The wage hike is set to kick in on the 1st of next month and will continue until the 30th of June 2029. Here's the union's Masibulelele Naki.
The NUM signed an offer of 6%, and in the last 2 years it will be 6.5%, which is the 5-year agreement. So this offer is also equivalent to the industrial offers that are offered by mining currently. As I indicated, that it was not an easy negotiation, it was tough negotiations, and only NUM was in the negotiations, no other union. So we delivered to our members. We believe our members will be happy to achieve this, and we are wishing well and hoping that job security will prevail.
And a team of British scientists have used a fluorescent dye to help identify cancerous prostate cells during surgery that would otherwise be invisible to the naked eye. The researchers from Oxford University hope that the procedure could reduce the chance of the disease returning. More from the BBC's Aurelia Foster.
Some cancer cells can be difficult to spot and they can get left behind in surgery, causing the disease to return. In this early stage trial, the dye was injected into 23 men with prostate disease before their surgery. It was mixed with a protein which makes it stick to prostate cancer cells. The dye makes cancer cells glow under a special light. Researchers said in many of the patients they found and removed cells they would not have seen without this technology. Larger scale trials are now underway.
The top story this hour: 4 suspects have been killed during a shootout with the police in Harding on the KZN South Coast. Up next is The Full Circle. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It is Hugh Masinga coming through with a train song, and that is how we kick off this very fine Monday afternoon. My team and I were trying to do a Google search, for this particular song, and weirdly enough, we actually can't find any information, any kind of digital footprint on it online. We're finding, obviously so, a lot of write-ups and a lot of documentation of Stimela, his seminal record, but not finding much on the train song. What I did find of interest, though, that it does seem like the late Hugh Masinga really was just committed to chronicling the impact that the train in its literal and metaphoric sense had on the lives and the construct of South African families. In fact, his words, as quoted through a exhibition that happened at the University of Fort Hare upon his passing, he's quoted as saying that the train was South Africa's first tragedy, and he expresses the pain of exploited mine workers and, of course, the separation and loss of family members who sometimes never returned home from work as a result of death or finding another loved one. Interesting, right? Very, very interesting. Perhaps one of these days, one will be in conversation with Percy Mabandu, who is quite the prolific writer of jazz and has followed in great detail the story of Hugh Masinga, to find out more about the sentiment around the train and its impact on the social construct, particularly of black families. Anyway, just a little bit of tidbit of information there. Whenever we come across anything of interest, we like to share it with you. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope that the extreme cold encouraged you to just lay low, stay indoors, and finally get some of that rest and relaxation, the much-deserved rest and relaxation. It's lovely to have a slightly warmer day today. It's most welcomed indeed. We've got lots by way of conversation. We're going to be reflecting on how finding themselves unemployed, or the prospect of unemployment propelled young entrepreneurs to start businesses. And we're going to be in conversation with two such young entrepreneurs in interesting spaces. In fact, one is in coal, and he's a founder of Coal Briskets Company out in Mpumalanga, and the other one is also invested in quite an interesting venture as well, and they're going to tell us more. He's in the dairy produce sector, but interesting how that dairy gets produced as by one of the key ingredients there. And then coming up, we are going to be catching up with the headmaster of St. Peter's College. They've gone fully off-grid. They're now relying fully on solar-generated power in what they are calling a state-of-the-art solar and battery storage facility. And they'll tell us how that has impacted, the functionings and the business of schooling. On the other side of 2 o'clock, still sticking to Youth Month, we're going to be talking around tips for youth who are trying to enter the job market, and finding out from an expert there, perhaps in some strategies that can be used to help you secure that job. That's coming up and so much more on the other side of 2. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, or 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the full circle, and we are catching up with two young entrepreneurs as we celebrate Youth Month, and we're reflecting on the resilience and innovation of young entrepreneurs. We know that unemployment obviously is very much so a significant challenge for young people in this country, and we often call on them to perhaps consider the entrepreneurial path. It's not for everybody. Of course, every entrepreneur will tell you this, that it's not for everybody. Some even believe that you have to be born an entrepreneur. We've got Edward Kharose joining us now, who's with Kharose, a Limpopo-based dairy product company, and of course, Given Ngwamba, who's the founder of Nzelo Charcoal Briskets out in Mpumalanga. Good afternoon to both of you. We've spoken to each of you respectively about your businesses for Made in SA. But today we thought we'll reflect and hone in a little bit closer on the journey of entrepreneurship. And maybe let me start with you, Edward. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thanks myself, Bridget, and good afternoon to SAFM listeners.
I'm great, thank you. This is a conversation. It's Youth Month. We talk to young people, and they tell us the challenges that they are plagued with and faced every day when trying to enter the job market. For you, you decided entrepreneurship is the way to go. Was it because that was always the plan for you? Or you found yourself looking, down the barrel of prospects like most South African youths and thinking, let me actually take my future into my own hands?
I believe it was a different story when coming to myself and Haros, the company that I established here in Polokwane. Because one main thing that I realized, in fact, I was in politics before. Then I realized when we go all out and do all those door-to-doors, you'll find a lot of young people at home relaxing, not doing anything. Then at the back of my mind, I was busy trying to ask myself, well, when we do these door-to-doors all over the country, and I was one of the candidates during the provincial elections, which means all those guys who were supporting me, they were supporting me to create my own job, because at the end of the day, I was the only one who was only going to go to to the council, the municipal council, if my party win the elections. So I was like, no, man, it's not going to be fair for me to be the only one who's going to benefit. What else can I do? Then I looked around. I'm from Polokwane, by the way, so always when I attend all these seminars, might be the business seminars or the political seminars, they're always talking about how best we can create jobs. So to me, it was like, but then, to be honest, this political thing is not going to create jobs. It's only to create jobs for one person, which is me, the leader. Then I was like, what can I do for me to be able to create jobs? Then that's when the idea of forming my own company clicked. Then I was like, okay, let me register a company whereby we will produce the yogurt sweet potatoes. Then we take it from there and see how it goes. That's how everything started.
Yeah. So it was born out of seeing the opportunity to do a lot more, to impact a lot more. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. For you, given Nzelo charcoal briskets, not something that a lot of people would, and I think I said this the first time we met, not something that a lot of people would go, okay, let me get into that. It's quite the different field for most people.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Bridget, and to your listeners. I think what's important is what you said, that we need to take the future into our own hands. I think I was also part of the statistics of being unemployed, and I figured out that no one is going to come and rescue you until you have to rescue yourself and your fellow community members and try to come up with something that can create employment for every one of us. Because the job unemployment issue is a very serious matter. As my brother was saying, we see a lot of people in our community sitting around looking for the opportunity, but they're not there. So we need to come up with something. If there's a will, there's a way. If you are passionate about something and you can get up and do something, and this is what I always tell the team as well, that this is not only for me. It will benefit us in a great way if we put ourselves, our minds into this thing and build it, because it would be nice to have a big factory in the rural areas where we are that is producing briquettes to all over the country, even exporting from this area. It would be a really great story to tell. And you getting employed from here, you just walk to your house, walk to your home. No issues of getting transport or have to move to another city to get a job, but you are here at your own place working and providing food for your family. So that is a struggle that we need to get up and fight for. Yeah.
Let's take a quick pause and then we'll come back on the other side and continue.
Are you ready to empower yourself with an accredited tertiary qualification? Stadio Higher Education's distance learning programs will set you up for success. Whether you're balancing work and family or you're a school leaver who must work to support yourself and your studies, Stadio offers access to high-quality, affordable qualifications in law, teacher education, commerce, admin and management, policing, and more. Mid-year applications are now open. Visit stadio.ac.za and register today. Stadio, a new vision in higher education.
Bafana, the AFCON 2023 bronze medalist takes on Zimbabwe Tuesday, the 11th of June 2024 at Free State Stadium at 6 p.m. Gates open at 3 p.m. and tickets are available for 50 Rand for adults and 20 Rand for children under 12. Scholars in uniform and students, student card required at Ticket Pro. Come dressed up to support Bafana to win prizes. If you're not in Mangaung, catch the game on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 at 6 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana on X and TikTok.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
What are your thoughts about coalition choices?
We said we are open to talk to everybody, including the MK party. And it's very difficult to talk to people there because when you talk to them, they tell you that they are still waiting for Ubaba.
Anyone seen
Ubaba?
Have you seen him? Have you seen him?
And Ubaba gatholakala.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is a Youth Month, and we are reflecting on the spirit of resilience and innovation as seen by and through our young entrepreneurs in the country, oftentimes charting a path where there isn't a path. And we thought we'd catch up with two such young entrepreneurs, Edward Kharose and, of course, Given Mwamba, and talk about their business journey over the years. A lot of people will say, Edward, that, we encourage youth to be entrepreneurial and to sort of go out there and do their own thing and take their future into their own hands. But at the same time, that sort of call will be challenged by most, saying, yes, but entrepreneurship is not something that you sleep and wake up tomorrow and you decide that you're going to be an entrepreneur. Some have said that it's something that's born in you. Some have said that it's something that requires consistent practice. And it's not an easy path for everybody. So is it realistic for us as a society to keep calling on young people to be more entrepreneurial?
I believe we must have more entrepreneurs in our societies. But then one thing for sure that I realized about entrepreneurship is that you need to really be patient and you really need to love what you're doing. And one thing for sure, entrepreneurship is not theory, it's practical. So when people are talking about entrepreneurship and the implementation part of whatever they're talking about, these are two different things. Remember, talk is cheap. But then when you have to go into the ground and implement whatever you're supposed to do, that is a different story. That's where majority of people fail because number one, it's a very lonely journey. It's a very stressful journey. And most of us, we start without proper resources. Like myself, I started with my own savings and it was not even enough. I'm in food sector, and when you talk about food sector, you're talking more about the compliance part. Remember, if you don't comply fully, then that's where the problem will begin because some of the market will not even open for you because of certain compliance issues. You must be accredited for this and this. Your product must be lab tested. Your factory must, you're not supposed to operate from home. If you operate from home, you not get this kind of certificate from the municipality and so forth. There is a lot going on in food sector. But when you check what the government is saying and the society, the government is saying we need more people into agro-processing. But they forget the terms. They forget the rules of the game because I regard compliance as part as the rule. Agro processing because if you are an agro processor, you need to comply fully. But that is and it's very expensive to comply because remember you must be ISO. The product must be lab tested. It costs money. Your facility must be accredited for to be safe for food production, you need that R638 certificate from the municipality. You need to have a facility. So if you are a starter and you're operating from home and you need to tap into the formal market, and when you apply for available funds from the government institutions, it becomes a challenge because those guys, they need the off-take agreement and stuff like that. Where are you going to get those things while we're still on the ground level? Those are some of the challenges that we experience. But then with love and passion of what you're doing, you end up seeing those barriers as opportunities, and you do whatever it takes for you to achieve whatever the market is looking for you to be able to tap into the formal market and for you to be able to create more jobs.
Given your thoughts on that, because it speaks to compliance, right? And good business practices once you get all the compliance correct. But these are not things that you would know straight out the gate, leaving varsity, thinking that, you want to get into sector A, B, C, and D. So how do young entrepreneurs then bob and weave around these issues?
I think to come back also to what my brother was saying, entrepreneurship is very, very hard. It's very tough. It needs you also to be a self-developing kind of a person. You must also, when you in that field that you choose to be in, you must also give yourself time to understand it better, do research, more research, understand all the regulations that are needed, and go out there and try and secure them. Because it's all up to you. No one else will come and rescue you or tell you what to do, go this way, go this way. It's a very long journey. It's a journey that you have to, once you said you're going into it, you must know that you have to be doing it on your own. You're wearing all the caps. You are the marketing manager, you are the CEO, you are the salesperson. So you got to know all these desks or tables that you have to deal with and able to do more research and understand your field even more. Luckily with us, there's no much of a regulation that we have to follow, just that we have to make sure that our product is safe, because most of our product is not a consumable product. It's a product that you can use without any effect of that much. So, but other than that, there is environmental regulations that we are still following now, that we are busy working with our environmental institute around our area to see how we can secure them. But they are very expensive. On the other side, we also require equipment, because at the level that we are on, we not really want to be. We are still looking for funds to grow up our capacity, because we're still using the equipment that we have come up with. But that is not enough for the market out there, because the demand now is there. People know about the product. They want it in different places. But the challenge is that the capacity is still not. The institute themselves, it's very challenging to penetrate to get the funds. Because at the same time, they'll come back and ask you, how much are you making? But at the same time, you're still a startup. You still need those equipment for you to generate revenue, but they want you to have the revenue. So it's a very, very challenging space, but you need to be determined. I take it as if it's like going to a gym to lose some weight, So every time you go up in the scale, you look, okay, 1 pound is gone, you go back and you go and fight. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Let's take a quick pause here for the headline news, and we'll come back on the other side of this.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge, and a very good afternoon. With the news headlines, Ke Mudupi Makhalemele. The City of Tshwane and the Water and Sanitation Department have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at addressing the city's water woes. 4 suspects have been killed during a shootout with the police in Harding on the KZN South Coast, and President Emmanuel Macron's decision to call a snap parliamentary vote has caused political shockwaves in France. I'll be back with all the details at the top of the hour.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, leading the conversation. Given you speak about the sort of the vicious cycle of getting into business, right? You got to wear all the caps, and you need to make revenue in order for you to plow back into the business, in order for you to be able to then scale up and capacitate and reach bigger and wider markets. And for a young entrepreneur, all of that can really be daunting. So how do you then almost compartmentalize the journey in order to focus on one thing at a time. Is that even possible?
Yeah, it is possible. You just have to be determined what you're doing. Never, any setback, never look into it too deeply like this is the end of you. You just have to tell yourself, I've got myself up on this thing, I'm going to put it out there the way I want it and the way you'll find ways to make it happen. Whether they're closing this door, the other door will open, because that's the biggest. I was so, right now as we're coming from the elections, you're looking at all these parties that are amazed us now, looking at all the funds that they've been receiving. I'm like, wow, if these funds they're giving to small businesses around in South Africa and around our communities, I mean, how much employment are you going to be creating with the funds that are out there? So it's a really challenging. We are out there, we are there, people are there with brilliant ideas. We are one of them as well that can able to create employment. We have products that are there in different shops to show that we have tangible something, but to penetrate the market, the financial institute, it's very, very challenging. But it doesn't mean you have to give up if you're an entrepreneur. You got to soldier on and continue knocking those doors. They're going to open up eventually.
Edward, I mean, you've got one up on Given, who's a qualified sound engineer. You've got one up because you're a qualified marketer. You know, you've got a qualification in marketing management. So at least that was one element of your business that you had full grasps on.
That is very much true, and then that is a blessing to business, because when coming to market my product, it becomes very easy for me to also to go out and exhibit my product and show my product, what this product is all about, and so forth. Yeah, so I will also agree with Given on what you have asked him, Warren. The only, if I have to, I mean, let me add on what Given said. Given said. If young people can be able to specialize rather than to do many things at once, that is one of the solutions that we can be implemented in terms of trying to make sure whatever they're doing. Like, let me give you an example. If I'm doing the yogurt, I've been into this business for almost 6 years now, but then I've been doing the yogurt only. But if it comes to a point whereby I'm going to introduce more product while the brand is not well known at the market, then that is where the problem will begin. Because if you specialize, you get enough time to understand the product itself, the compliance part. You even understand what your customers need, and you get enough chance to know how best you can improve your product, rather than to come up with 12 products or 3 products and so forth. But then it is very much safe to also have the backup. I always call the backup, because those are the products that I'm going to introduce in future. But then they are not yet introduced. If young people can understand this part of building the brand first, then they take it from there, because it will not assist you to make the yogurt, skincare product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at once. But if you specialize and stick to one product, then you'll be able to stay longer in this market.
And Given, you know, as I listen to the both of you, I mean, Given you are with Nzelo charcoal briskets, and of course Edward is with Kharos, which is a dairy produce brand. So one is in mass market, competing with, you know, very much household brands, the Clover Danons, the this, that, and the other. The other one of you yourself, you're in a very niche market space, because I can't even tell you who does charcoal. I don't think people even notice who does charcoal. You just go to the garage and you just buy charcoal, whichever is the most affordable or whichever you think works better. So my question becomes, which of the two is better, or does one even compare? You know, when you look at mass market and you look at niche market, it's neither here nor there for us to compare which would be better for a young entrepreneur to get into, something that a lot of people are into or something that very few people are into.
Well, as I said, there's nothing new under the sun. So you just have to look at the niche market that you can attract in your own space. Once you've seen that this is something, I mean, like what I've realized also with entrepreneurship, A lot of us don't travel a lot to see other opportunities in different places. But now we have internet. That we can visit New York while I'm here, do my YouTube, do whatever. And we can pick up something that we see somewhere that here in my community, the people will love this, but it's not here. And then you can start from there and create that thing on your own and start selling it from there. So as a niche market. But you have to know that this is something that, as my brother has said, you don't have to come up with 1,000 or 12 of the products, but stick with one and build it and take to the level where you say, now I can introduce another product. Then from there you just grow and go up. So yeah, you can be on your niche market, just look what your community or your people need around you and come up with your own niche market, because there's a lot of product out there, but how you sell your product, how you put your product in the market, I mean, the pie is too big for all of us. You just have to find a space for yourself to sell now.
Edward, I'll give you the last bite of this one, or the last spoon in your case of words of advice.
There are a lot of products that are out there on the market, but then the only thing that you can do as an entrepreneur, you just have to you can do whatever it's been there on the market for some years, but then if you find unique way of doing whatever it was there for some years and years, or if you come up with an innovative way of producing whatever it may be, like in my case, yogurt has been there for years and years and years, but then you must understand yogurt is not something new. But we at Kharos, what we did, we changed how this game is supposed to be played, because ours we use the sweet potatoes as the main ingredient. So it shows you what. In fact, us at Kharos, we are not really selling the yogurt, but we are selling the health benefits of what our product can offer. So I can say innovation serves the best tool to win in this game.
Gentlemen, thank you for the conversation, and hopefully if some of our more youthful audiences were listening today who are going out and venturing to start up their own things, got some words of advice from you guys based on your individual experiences setting up your companies and sustaining them over the years. That was Edward Kharose and, of course, Given Mwamba joining me in conversation. It is fast approaching 2 o'clock. Let's take a quick pause, and then we'll come back on the other side of this and catch up with the headmaster of St. Peter's College.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Catching up now with Headmaster at St. Peter's College, Rui Moraes, joining me as the transition towards sustainable energy practices in South Africa's educational institutions have become a massive need, considering that they are not exempt from load shedding. And his particular institution is really responded to the conversation around environmental responsibility and, of course, sustainability. And they've invested quite heavily in what they're calling the state-of-the-art solar and battery storage facility, boasting a total capacity of 200 kilowatts PV. I have no idea what is the capacity of 200 kilowatts. We've got Headmaster Rui Moraes joining me. How are you doing, Headmaster?
Thank you much, Bridget. Very well, and thank you very much for having me on your show. It really is indeed a great honor.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk about, firstly, 200 kilowatts. So how much powering capacity is that?
Bridget, I'm exactly like you. I have got absolutely no idea what it means in layman's terms. All I do know is that it has the capacity to power up the entire school and run the entire school. So from a scientific, technical point of view, I think I'm very much in the same boat as you. But I allow the experts to address those matters for us. But what I can say is that it's been life-changing in many ways. Quite interesting. even being neighbours with Eskom right next door, it has definitely not exempted us from load shedding at all. But it has definitely been life changing. Implementing the solar and the batteries, etc.
Yeah.
We don't even feel it at all. So it's been fantastic.
Let's talk about why it was necessary for you and the school governing body to take the decision to actually go off grid and go off grid fully for your institution.
No, sure. Thanks very much. So, Bridget, sometimes they do say, out of darkness light does come. And I think, organizations, not only schools, organizations have been talking for many, many years that it is the right thing to do, of course, for sustainability, to reduce carbon footprint. And in many ways, I think it has been a blessing in disguise, the situation currently with Eskom, because it has pushed us into very much into a corner, and we've had to respond. So I do see a lot of positive that has come out of it. So not only about sustainability, reducing carbon footprint, etc. It's about keeping the school running. So in nowadays, institutions such as ourselves, we rely so much on technology. Without it, we can't function. So it really is just to keep the school running in many ways. And we've also invested in many other areas. Such as water, etc. But the solar and the electricity was one of them.
I mean, anybody will tell you from a domestic perspective, right? I think most South Africans who are in a position to even consider going off the grid or partially going off the grid or getting some kind of backup power, we all know how expensive it is. The financial undertaking of it is just crazy. And so I can only imagine that formed part of the conversation for you guys at St. Peter's College to say, well, would this be feasible considering the expense that it would require?
Absolutely. I think, there's obviously the initial capital outlay. There's an organization we have to put up to install. But long term, there will definitely be a saving, So, we've had to keep the school running. We've had massive generators burning, huge amounts of, copious amounts of diesel, on a monthly basis. So just the savings have been incredible. Not only that, you can imagine what it does to the environment when you're burning diesel all the time. So that definitely is a factor, and that has come into our thinking.
And fortunately for you guys, you were in a position where you could make this happen, which the majority of South African schools aren't really. And let's also touch a little bit, Headmaster, on, you mentioned it earlier, just the importance of also moving off grid and plugging into this conversation around just transition and sustainability. Because I think there is a role there, right, for schooling institutions and other institutions that obviously are capable and have the financial muscle to play in the broader conversation around this.
Absolutely, Bridget. It's also about educating our children and educating our youth. We at St. Peter's College, it hasn't just been the solar; it's been water. The building up the water capacity because the water infrastructure around us is collapsing, and on a weekly basis we have water cuts. And to keep 1,000 people, on campus without water, there's all sorts of health risks and so on. So we had to address that, and it's also about the capturing of water and putting that back into the system. We have also, we've implemented a recycling plant at the school. We're working very closely with Beckerby, so we've got a recycling plant as well. We're also creating, our own compost. So we've got our own compost area which goes straight back into our fields. And the next project it's going to start within the next week or two is to redress. Schools like ourselves, we have massive grounds and gardens, and we are bringing in water-wise plants. We're relooking at our entire, gardening which indigenous plants, minimal watering, putting mulch all over the garden flower beds where, it reduces evaporation. Another thing that we've done is we've changed all our lights, putting LED lights, so, cost saving there as well. So there are many different areas, and it's about educating our youth so that when they do leave institutions like ourselves, they're very conscious. They can implement not only in their own homes, but hopefully, when they're going to, into the business world one day, they're able to carry on with that way of thinking.
I think everything that you've just said has made so many people smile as you were sort of running through the list of programs that you've got going on, because I think it speaks to an awareness and a conscious leadership and even a buy-in from the student and staff body at the school to lead by example in this conversation around environmental sustainability.
No, absolutely. Even putting, light switches in the various classrooms and offices, which are, which switch off, after you leave. It's sensor driven. Yeah, even we've gone to that extent. And all those little things. It might seem small, but it's not. Ultimately, as a collective, it can make a massive difference.
Just as we wrap it up, by way of, so when you implement all these changes, there's obviously always a certain portion of the student body that are, proactive and involved in these global conversations. And then there's always a larger portion of the student body that's very blasé, like, doesn't matter. How has the response been from the students?
No, it's been very positive. We've actually got an eco club at the school, which also gets quite involved in a number of the initiatives and part of the process. But it's something when you're dealing with teenagers, it's a constant. You got to keep reminding, you got to keep talking about these things. It's human nature. It's not only students. It's us as adults. If we're not constantly addressing and talking and creating an awareness, then of course it's going to fall by the wayside. You can ask my students. I talk about litter, those sort of things at the school all the time. And the importance of throwing the rubbish away. All those little things which might seem innocuous. They're not. They're important. But it's that constant awareness that we have to create.
Absolutely. Principal Murray, thank you so much for the time. I get the feeling that you'll at least be getting 5 or 10 more applications for 2025 with the way that you are conducting the school. And he's the headmaster at St. Peter's College, doing incredible work there and making sure that they leave very little by way of their carbon footprint. It's fast approaching 10 to 2 o'clock. It's time for us to get into Kids Corner.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
This year, we are celebrating Youth Month under the theme Actively Embracing the Socio-Economic Gains of Our Democracy. As we commemorate the massacre of school children during the Soweto Uprising of 1976, we also celebrate the liberation of our beloved country. #Freedom30. #Youth Month. This program is brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
My name is Newa. I'm 9 years old and I'm from St. Martin's. I prefer working alone because then you can pick your own style, your own design and your own texture, and people don't have to boss you around and you don't have to pick the same thing. The disadvantages working alone, with groups, is that if there's a bully in your group, they boss you around a lot and they pick your design, and some people can stand up for the other bully and not for you. So I prefer working alone. Working in groups with your friends can make it a lot easier because like when you're best friends, you can think the same thing, you can think the same design and stuff. So I prefer if you work with your friends. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ndamurere Nemtango. I'm in grade 5 and I'm 10 years old from Tumbedzo Primary School. I prefer working in groups because I would like much help and we can make our project beautiful and how the teacher told us to do. Working in groups, I think that if you are not doing right, somebody will help you and will learn new things about how we do our project and how we do some of the paintings or something else. I think the teacher must check if somebody did something or not, because if it didn't do something, it's okay because they also get free marks.
My name is Azalea and I'm 8 years old and I go to St. Martin's School, and I prefer working with groups, not individual. I prefer working in groups because everyone needs help and just to feel better. To make teamwork work is just to not fight and not be mad, and then you can be nice. You can have a successful group. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mchizma Pet. I'm 11 years old. I prefer working in groups because I love working with other people. It makes our project or something that we're making beautiful and loving. By working in groups, I think we can make a perfect and lovely project and so we can have good marks and pass our project. The teacher must make sure that everyone is participating in the group by asking where did they help and what did they do to do the project. This year at my school, we had a group project of making a mandala. For those who don't know what is a mandala, it's something round with designs all around the circle, which goes the pattern, and it has the pattern all over the circle until it ends. When we were doing this project, I was participating with others. We were working as a group. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yari Ella. I'm 9 years old and I go to St. Martin's School. I prefer working in groups for school projects because I just feel like we can work better together. The good things about working in a group is that you can talk to each other about what you're thinking of doing. To make a group work effective, you have to help each other and you all have to do it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rofrepera Ratogwa. Today I'll be talking about how I feel about working in a group. When I work in a group, it's actually nice because we all have different skills and ideas, and I don't do all the work alone. I normally work in a group when I am at school. The good things about working in a group is that you can work together till the end and help each other if you don't know what to do. The bad things are when you can't agree on the same thing and if you can't work together. I prefer working in a group because I am much motivated when I work in a group than rather being alone.
Hello everyone, I'm Mushfika Talib. I actually enjoy working in groups of people. I usually work in groups at school, but sometimes it isn't the best because some people won't put in as much effort as the others, and it's really unfair. But then again, if everyone does their part, they can get their project done quicker and it'll be more fair. As much as I enjoy working in groups, the majority of the time I prefer to work alone. If you ever work in groups with other people, try not to be too controlling. Like, don't try to always do things the way you want it to be done. Let other people also add in their own ideas so it can be balanced out. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Paramat. How I feel about working as a group is that it is fun and gets the job done faster. Where I normally work as a group is at school. The good things of working as a group is that you can get the job done easily and faster. The bad things of working as a group is that there can be some fighting about if someone doesn't like this specific person in this group. And there can also be disagreements of how they're supposed to work. I prefer working as a group because it is very nice and organized and it can get the job done easily. If you have a friend in that group, you can have lots of fun with them. My advice to other kids with regard to group work is that make sure that you have people that you can trust and they are very focused in work. Try to work with some ideas some people come out with and try not to cause a conflict and also prevent conflict.
Hello everyone! Today let's talk about something really cool and significant. The power of teamwork and working in groups. Imagine trying to build a huge castle with blocks all by yourself. It would take forever and be extremely challenging. However, when you work with friends, it becomes more enjoyable and the castle gets built much faster. This is the essence of teamwork, coming together to achieve one goal. When you collaborate in groups at school, you have the opportunity to share your ideas. Maybe you have a friend who excels at drawing, another who loves writing stories, and someone else who's knowledgeable about science. By combining your skills and brainstorming together, you can create incredible projects that would be impossible to accomplish alone. It's like solving a giant puzzle, where each person adds their own unique piece and together, the whole picture is completed. Teamwork also allows you to learn from others. If you're great with math but struggle with reading, working with a friend who loves reading can make it easier for you. You can support each other and improve in areas where you face challenges. When you collaborate with others, you not only enhance your communication skills, but also develop problem-solving abilities, which are important not only for school, but for life as well. Lastly, working in groups can make school more enjoyable. It's fun to work with friends, share laughter, and celebrate achievements together. When everyone contributes and supports one another, it creates a positive and happy environment. So whenever you have a group project, remember how teamwork can make the task easier, more enjoyable, and a fantastic opportunity to learn new things.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Here on SAFM, we honor the contribution of the youth for our liberation. We also celebrate the liberation of our beloved country. Happy Youth Month, South Africa.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Top stories this hour moves to address the water challenges in Tshwane and 4 suspects killed in a KZN shootout. A very good afternoon. The City of Tshwane and Water and Sanitation have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at addressing the city's water woes. This will see them collaborating on areas such as infrastructure development and water resource planning. Tshwane residents, especially in Hammanskraal, are still battling to access clean drinking water. City spokesperson Linda Lamashigo says the water challenges have negatively affected the residents.
The other 3 areas of collaboration that the MOU will focus on include water resource planning infrastructure solutions in line with the city's climate action plan, benchmarking of programs, that is green drop, blue drop, and no drop, joint enforcement programs for water pollution prevention, amongst others. The signed MOU reinforces the ideal of Intergovernmental Relations Act, which implores a concerted effort by government in all spheres to work together and to integrate as far as possible their actions in the provision of services.
3 people have died and another injured in a crash on the N1 near Toes River in the Boland. Provincial Transport spokesperson Munera Ali says a heavy motor vehicle and 2 light motor vehicles were involved in a collision. She says police and emergency teams are on site.
3 fatalities are confirmed and 1 person sustained injuries. All teams are on site. A stop and go is currently in place.
4 suspects have been killed during a shootout with the police in Harding on the KZN South Coast. Police have launched a manhunt for 2 suspects who fled the scene. Spokesperson Robert Netsiwunda says it is believed that a businessman had just withdrawn money from a bank at a shopping center in the area.
Police approached the suspects who had just committed the robbery, and suspects defied police orders and opened fire. Police returned fire and 4 suspects were fatally wounded during the shootout. Police are still chasing after more suspects who fled the scene in 2 vehicles. A firearm as well as the money which was robbed was found in the possession of the suspects. Anyone with information regarding the whereabouts of the suspects is urged to contact the nearest police station or call the Crime Stop number 08600 101.
The Health Products Regulatory Authority has reassured the public that there are no traces of diethylene glycol in the recalled batches of the Benylin cough syrup. SAPRA revealed this after it conducted its own independent tests on the batches. The authority had to recall the cough syrup after it received a report from the Nigerian National Agency for Food and Drug Administration regarding the detection of high levels of the toxin, which can be fatal. Here's SAPRA's Dion Puvan.
So a full root cause investigation was conducted on the manufacture of the batches by the manufacturer. But what SAPRA had done was actually conduct independent testing of samples of these 2 batches of Benylin Pediatric that we had recalled to see if we could find the traces of diethylene glycol in there. And what we had found after having these tested is that we couldn't find any traces of diethylene glycol. So we reported on that back to the public.
And President Emmanuel Macron's decision to call a snap parliamentary vote has caused political shockwaves in France. Macron said it was an act of trust in the French people after his alliance lost heavily to the far right in the EU elections. The Socialist Party leader Raphael Glucksmann said he was taken by surprise by what he called the very dangerous game that Macron was playing with democracy. The BBC's Nick Beak has more.
Huge political bombshell in France. President Macron last night doing this TV address, and he said that he simply couldn't ignore the fact that so many people had voted for the far-right party, for the national rally of Marine Le Pen. In fact, they got double the number of votes than his own centrist party. So he says he's calling elections. They'll take place, the first round, just in 3 weeks' time, and he's taking a massive gamble here. Last night, President Macron said that to be French is to write history, not to be governed by it.
Recapping the top story this hour, the city of Tshwane and Water and Sanitation have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at addressing the city's water woes. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It is the incomparable Angelique Kidjo coming through with Agolo is the name of the song. That is, it brings us to 2:10 on this fine Monday afternoon. And I did say that after 2, we're going to be continuing with our Youth Month theme. And it is Career Monday after all. And we're looking at tips for the youth who are entering the job market and maybe some things that they need to consider. On the other side, well, later on in the hour, rather, we're going to be navigating the complexities of university admissions and managing those expectations, as well as available options with Dr. Linda Meyer, who oftentimes comes through to help us with conversations around education. She is an education expert and director at Rosebank College. But for now, though, let's get into this conversation around tips for youth who are entering the job market with the head of youth programs at Youth Employment Service, Aditi Lachman, joining me on the line. How are you doing, Aditi? Are we still trying to get Aditi on the line? All right, let's take a quick pause and then we'll come back on the other side of this.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
So in order for us to address youth unemployment and the crises surrounding this, it requires some kind of innovative solutions, right, and practical tools. And this is according to the Youth Employment Service, who are equipping young people with the skills for future-facing sectors is very much so essential. We've had this conversation with a few stakeholders who have a vested interest in ensuring the prosperity of South African youth. And we thought this afternoon we'd invite Aditi Lachman, who is the head of youth programs for Youth Employment Services, to join in the conversation. How are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, Bridget. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for making the time. So you say that it's critical, it's essential for us to equip young people with skills for future-facing sectors. Let's talk about, I guess, in one part, what are we talking about when we talk about future-facing sectors, and what are the critical skills components that are then required for consideration at this point?
Yes, certainly. And so when we talk about critical skills, it's about us being able to look at our surroundings, our environment, the landscape, the economy, and understand where is it that the world is moving and how do we move with it. And so some of our future-facing sectors that YES is looking into to creating opportunities for young people is around information technology, green energy, tourism, the creative environment, drones, and even baristas.
I see. All right. And these are industries that are already, or rather sectors that are already in existence, yeah? So what makes them future-facing, or what elements of them then become future-facing?
Yeah, certainly, Bridget. So what makes something future-facing is around how do we advance as a community, as a country, as the world at large. And if you look at the trends that are around us, technology is playing a big role and at times considered competing with the jobs of us as young people. And so for us, future-facing is how do we use new technologies and how do we use our creativity and problem-solving to create value in these different industries as well. So, example, the thought of drones might seem very futuristic. However, there's a number of security companies in South Africa that are using drone technology to improve security for their clients.
In as far as this preparation is concerned, we were talking around AI and all kinds of interesting things, as South Africans, but practically, our institutions are those who are placed in position of leadership to steer the development of young people. Are they already looking into the sort of the future glass and already incorporating thinking around, all right, how do we set up young people for prosperity in the not so distant future?
Yeah, so a lot of thought goes into how we find a balance between technology and incorporating people as the center of what we do as work. And so it takes a collective approach from large corporations, SMMEs, and from a YES perspective to look at these aspects and see how we incorporate different skill sets, because ultimately what happens is that what you can't replace right now is problem-solving skills. You can't resolve the creativity side, and these are where those opportunities are popping up. It's how do we still maintain our human ingenuity within these different sectors as well. And how do we unlock that skill for a lot of young people and how we consider it as untapped potential.
Yeah. So how do we tap into it then, Aditi? How do we unlock that skill?
So South Africa has a lot of untapped potential, and how we can unlock that is through multi-sector approaches, multi-stakeholder approaches, and that's where we work is a great center point for different organizations, stakeholders, young people themselves to look at what is happening within the environment and how can we learn from that. So on one side, we work with corporations around leveraging different strategies like sustainability and BEE to get more young people into the workplace. And then likewise, we work with youth in terms of understanding great foundational skills for them, particularly around soft skills and the attitude you bring into the workplace and how you unlock that confidence, that curiosity, which goes far beyond just technical or formal education as well.
All right, let's now look at, and I think already our conversation has given young people something to consider, right? Let's look at the problems that we face now. If I'm a young South African and I'm trying to set myself up in the job market, I'm trying to create as many opportunities as possible for myself within this space. What are some of the first things that I need to be considering, whilst I'm even still at a tertiary level?
Certainly. So So there's a number of things and factors that affect your employability within the workspace and how you can make yourself more employable. Our research is showing that some of the key things include how you fine-tune your soft skills, so communication, confidence, the way you present yourself is so important. It doesn't just start from when you submit a CV or go for an interview. It's how you position yourself within your network as well. So that's a second aspect. What we're noticing is that those that are thriving are building strong networks. And so the people that you communicate with in person and now even more so online makes a big difference in terms of the doors that get open for you. And thirdly for me is an important aspect is thinking of yourself as a business, and more so if you're able to think around whether you're working and setting up a side hustle or creating your own business, it's showing a business mindset that is highly in demand right now from corporate companies, but also the way you can thrive in your own environment as well.
And do you think, Aditi, this is something that young people are already conscientized about? I mean, when you look at, the different generations, I guess all had their own unique characteristics. And some love to give credit that Generation X and Generation Z are far more sort of in tuned with the environment around them. So do you think that they're already conscientized around this kind of thinking when you talk about, for instance, how they fine-tune their soft skills and how they position themselves even amongst their own peers?
So we often talk about confidence and the way you exude yourself. And what we're seeing is confidence is an outcome of practice. And when you're especially young, you might be often lacking that experience where that famous saying, I can't get a job without experience and I can't get experience without a job. And so what we are seeing is young people are putting themselves out there more and more. However, the direction and the structure and the confidence is often lacking at the beginning. And so how we work to help youth is around fast-tracking that growth, that awareness and understanding of what their value is within the economy and within their communities as a start.
You guys also point out, and I think it's a good thing to sort of highlight, you say that it's not always possible to get the education of your dreams, but that doesn't mean that all is lost.
Certainly, a valuable tip is around investing in practical work experience right now. And so while a lot of us as South Africans might not be as lucky to get into formal education straight out of high school or even complete our high school, what we are seeing is that with at least 2 or more years of practical work experience, you become much more valuable within the workplace as well. And how you apply yourself is critical in these spaces around showing evidence of how you've created value, contributed to problem solving, and particularly in these future-facing sectors such as IT, certifications are becoming more of an asset right now, but pursuing a 4-year degree. And so it's always about balancing the various options that you have and how you can make the best of that.
And I think also, when we talk about sort of rethinking our approach to education and self-development at times, I think there's a conversation there to be had as broader society, right? Because we often say with educators that not everybody needs to run the gauntlet of a 3-4 year degree. It might be wasted time, wasted resource, wasted energy for where you're trying to be as a young person. And maybe we need to start looking at education and self-development that's more tailored for what you essentially envisage for your life.
Certainly, and as time goes on and technology advances and the way we evolve as humans is education and the way we learn is diversifying. Decades ago, the standard was that you finish high school, you'll go into university, and then you're almost guaranteed a job. The world we're living in right now is that job at the end isn't necessarily guaranteed for you after a 4-year degree. Often many young people are left in debt with student loans and ultimately affecting their mental health as well, which creates the cycle that is not allowing them to get into the industries that they want to. So what we see is that if you're able to apply yourself in different ways and engage around that aspect of how you can create value, how you can solve problems for companies or by creating your own company, your organization, is a great start nowadays.
Let's also look at if one does encounter the sort of sense of hopelessness where you're walking out of a university with a degree and a qualification, or a TVET or whatever, with a degree and a qualification. We know what the stats say around the prospects of employment in this country, and it can leave a lot of people despondent. But I then wonder if that can somehow also impact how you even go out in seeking of a job if your confidence has been shaken to such a degree.
Certainly. So our research is showing that 77% of all our youth indicated when it comes to their career guidance that they rely on themselves as opposed to engaging with family, friends, and mentors. And that in itself makes this journey into the work life feel very lonely. And so for us, what we are seeing is that when you have to bring your whole self to the workplace, is mental health is such a important aspect, and how you build your resilience and your grit in a very demanding space where often at times it can feel like opportunities are scarce. It's that inner voice and that growth mindset that keeps you going. And what often happens with young people that become despondent is it's that continuous cycle of not feeling like they're able to get any traction and then ultimately giving up. Where young people need to be is around that building of resilience and grit to keep going and know that as you keep knocking on more doors, there will be an opportunity that will eventually come your way, and how to then grab that opportunity when it is there.
What are the youth saying about, in the meantime, for the purpose of experience, and I loved what you said, that confidence is an outcome of experience. For the purposes of experience and for the purposes of, in that sort of moment, that sort of gap moment between graduation and finding a job, going out there and volunteering, going out there and letting yourself be of service to community and organization. What is the sentiment around that from young folks who probably have qualifications, who have the graduation, who just don't have the paid salary job that comes with it, but want to be out and be productive?
Yeah. So you bring up an incredibly important point, and it's similar to when you do enter university, right? Is there's often a course, there's thousands of young people applying, yet there's probably just a couple hundred positions at most. And so it's the same kind of funnel when you move from graduation and into the workplace. And when you graduate, everybody graduates from the same kind of qualification. So what is putting someone ahead of the game is that extra experience you might have. And as you mentioned, volunteering at your institution, how you put in extra activities or experience in different clubs. That is what is setting some of the top achievers aside from the average, right? And so volunteer experience, taking up leadership within your community, starting an initiative, no matter how small, puts you a step or more ahead than your average counterparts. And so that is something that is strongly advised from the time you leave high school, around how do you add more to your experience and portfolio that you can speak to.
Yeah. Let's talk about school leavers, which is a category of young people entering the job market we never really focus on. Let's talk about school leavers and how do they set themselves up, a cut above the rest. Because if graduates are struggling to get into the workspace, then we almost automatically then, conclude that a school leaver with nothing more than a matric certificate is going to find it 10 times harder.
So at YES, a large majority of our YES youth come in with a matric certificate. And while we think it might be much harder for them, which could be in certain circumstances, is that what we're finding is that they are more adaptive in terms of pursuing different opportunities and not necessarily taking one straight path. And where we find with graduates is often you are looking for jobs and opportunities within that sector or that industry that you think that you've meant to be in. So what we're learning is to be agile, take on jobs and roles that you might not have thought for yourself before. If an opportunity comes knocking, use that to understand how it might help you open another door versus turn it down instantly. And that's what we've seen in terms of, while some might not have as great career advice, is many are succeeding in terms of taking a chance on themselves and taking a chance on opportunities that they might not have historically thought of opening themselves up to.
Yeah. Aditi Lachman, thank you for the time. And Aditi is the head of youth programs at Youth Employment Services. Before we head into the headline news, I'm wondering if you're listening to our conversation, can you rewind back to your very first job and the earliest memory of your first job? Did you get into the sector that you studied for, or did you end up doing something completely different? Because as Aditi says, you just got to take the opportunities that come your way. 086-000-2032 is the number you can call us on, and 061-410-4107. What was your first job?
A very good afternoon with the news headlines at 2:30. The City of Tshwane and Water and Sanitation have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at addressing the city's water woes. 2 Tshwane Metro police officers have been fired for terrorizing the Centurion community in Pretoria. And International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor says South Africa stands ready to work with the new BRICS members. Details of these and other stories coming up 3 o'clock.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
Minister Naledi Pandor.
It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. if you do watch us live stream, the cool thing about watching us live stream is that you get to see the behind the scenes, even though you rarely get to see my team because they don't sit this side of the studio, they sit on the other side of the studio. From time to time, they pop in to bring guests when we have guests physically here. But you get to see my facial expressions, which I'm told I have a face that does not lie. So it lets you know when things are happening behind the scenes that are beyond our control. The question that we are asking you now is based on our last conversation is, what was your first job? And what is the earliest memory of yourself in that job? Did you go straight from varsity and get into the industry or the sector that you were qualified in? Some of my team is nodding. Nodding vigorously there behind the glass wall. Or did you get into something completely different and you just seized the opportunity and thought to yourself, you know what, I'm going to take the opportunity that's being presented to me and I'm going to make this work for now until I get into the space that I want to get into. Depending on which sort of part of my life you ask me about. So my first job was in fashion as a model way back then. That was my first job. I was doing catalogs, print catalogs, for all the big sort of retail houses, the Edgarses, the Fashinis, doing commercials and things like that. In fact, I'll have you know, if you got a bit of a foot fetish, I was the feet model for Edcon House. So for all the Edgar's sales house and all those brands, for the shoes, I was the foot model for those catalogs. I'll have you know. I bumped into somebody the other day who reminded me about that. They were one of the senior marketing managers for Edcon, the Edgar's group at the time. And they were like, oh, remember we used to work with you shooting feet, So I was all poised and wonderful from the ankles going down, and I was a mess from the knees going up. 086 000 2032 0614104107. What was your first job? I'd love to know. I'm very curious. I would love to know. So drop me a voice note and let's have a little bit of fun as you go down memory lane. Perhaps you started off working at a petrol garage, being a petrol attendant while studying, and now here you are, captain of industry, running your own firm, running your own practice. But really where you started off was pumping fuel for people in the community, working as a petrol attendant. We all have big dreams and they all have to start somewhere. So we thought we'd ask you that.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Hi, Bridget. My first job, oh my word, I was a waitress and I was terrible at it. But the lesson I really learned is to be patient with yourself. You won't know everything in one day and you won't be the best in one day. And always just try to build a closer relationship with the more efficient workers, colleagues, and just try to form a relationship with those people. Copy their habits at work. What do they do? How did they get to where they are? And good luck to all the first time professionals.
Afternoon, Bridget, and the Full Circle listeners. Oh, Bridget, you're just taking me down memory lane, because I kind of had to think a bit about what was my first job, and I suppose some memories that stand out for me from that period. I mean, it's fast forward, I think 15 years now. But I was an intern in the marketing department, managed by a wonderful lady whom I would say I learned quite a lot. And she had a huge influence in the decisions I think I made thereafter in terms of my career. But most importantly, she was a mom at that time. Fast forward, I think 15 years later, I'm a mom now. And I always remember how often when she's not in the office and we'll be panicking because we didn't know what to do because we were just so used to reporting directly to her. So whenever, as a side note, she'll talk to us about, balancing work, balancing a career, being a family woman, a mom, and all of that, she spoke about the importance of always making time for family. And in trying to balance and grow your career, you must always make decisions that are mostly centered or influenced by your family's comfortability and your family's well-being. And now that I'm a mom, like I said, 15 years later, I see exactly what she meant. And I find myself really making decisions from that lens.
Hi, this is Bridget. I remember when I finished school, I did something else. I did engineering, but when I finished, I had an opportunity from one of the big insurance company in South Africa, and then it was sales. And then I dived into that. Mind you, I'm from engineering. And from there, I grew a love. Like, I started moving from that company to the next one. And since until then, I'm on sales. I never worked the job I went to school for. And even now, even if I'm doing a different job now, but the company that I'm working for is more of sales also. Thank you, Gwena.
Yeah, with me, my first gig was, I was technically self-employed while also trying to get through my studies. I would be a computer technician, fixing stuff, building stuff, and trying to sell it. Yeah, and that got me through college as well, so I'd have some extra cash to get through. But now, today, here I am, a partner of one of the greatest law firms in the Western Cape. But yeah, I still dabble in my computing now and then.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
We all had to start somewhere, right? Absolutely. I know somebody whose first job, they worked for a bakery and they got fired after the first week. They're in politics now doing something completely different, but they worked for a bakery, got fired in the first week because they burnt, the bread and the things that needed to be baked overnight. Anyway, we've got Lisego in Klerksdorp. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing quite great. Is it Bridget?
Yes, it is. How are you?
I'm also good. Thank you very much for asking. So, my first job actually was a field marketer for Publicis Commerce, and I actually did what I actually studied for in a TVET college. So I was actually quite grateful and quite thankful about that. But unfortunately, it was a temporary post, and my contract got expired. So now, what I'm doing right now, is I'm trying to catch up on my education. I'm doing a lot of reading, short courses that I'm doing right now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to my next job opportunity. It will be great.
And the short courses, just as I divert a little bit, the short courses are to help you in your future job prospects, right? So they speak more to where you want to go next.
Definitely. One of the short courses I just recently finished was a data entry clerk. It helps me with my Microsoft and computer skills, especially on the Excel side.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically what it's helping me at.
Yeah, you are in serious employment, Lisego. Anyone who deals with Excel, I'm always very impressed because I don't know what's happening there. Thank you for the call. That was Lisego in Klerksdorp. I honestly have no idea what's happening. Go Excel. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. What was your first job? Let's go down memory lane. What was your first job? Did you start off doing exactly what you were qualified for coming out of tertiary, or did you go straight out of varsity or high school and then get into something a little less attractive and a little mediocre, perhaps? Let's go to WhatsApp.
Hey, Bridget. Mina, I was recruited by a company at university, and I earned very nice money. It was... my junior degree was at Rao, Rand Afrikaans University, and that university was very privileged in terms of private sector will come and then the lecturer will choose what they regard as a good student, And from there, I've always taken myself seriously. I've never done odd jobs. I don't take cheap jobs because, I'm a very serious person. The way that I was nominated there, I've just never went back. My first salary, I was very young, 24 years old. It was 16,000 Rand. Thanks, Bongi here.
Hi, Bridget. You're talking to Cindy. I'm here in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape. My first job, I was a fitting room attendant at Edgar's Cresta. That's where I started. And then I climbed the ladder from there because I ended up at being a beauty consultant. Edgar's Red Square, you name them. I went to Rose Bank, I went to Santin, and then I finally worked at Woolies when they opened their beauty department. And I worked there as a beauty consultant and then a fragrance specialist. And right now I'm a teacher. Thank you, Bridget. Bye.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
You know what? what I love about a career is that honestly, you can pivot and reinvent yourself 50 million times. You can start off at the bottom and find yourself in the corner office. I've worked with some incredible people. There was a security guard at Mnet when I first started in television. I used to record a show overnight.
Okay.
So I'd come in at 6 p.m., record the show. Sometimes it was live, and she'd do the night shift. Patricia, never forgot her name. We talk all the time, etc. And the one day I said to Patricia, you spend so much time just, working the 6 to 6 shift. What else are you doing? She's like, I'm studying. Okay, cool. So I do that for a couple of years. You know what it's like. You come in and out of organizations and you carry on. Years later, I'm like, where's Patricia? It must have been about 10 years later, coming for a different project. And Patricia was now one of the senior managers in the IT department because she was studying at the desk every night.
Well, there you are.
Yeah. Okay.
What a fascinating story.
What was your first job, Ashraf?
So, interesting one. I have to qualify this. In my community, typical Muslim family community, the need to understand trade is like critical. Okay. So, in fact, my first job was as a 5-6-year-old laitiki. Seriously. Uh-huh. And I'm saying this because it was expected of you on a Saturday, if your family's got a business, you work. And in the December holidays, which we hated, the whole period from the time you leave school till like Christmas Day, you have to work every single day, okay? And we sold safari suits, and this was the punchline. Safari suits, R1.50, wash and wear. I've never forgotten that. Having said that, it ensures that you are switched on to commerce for the rest of your life.
Listen, it's one of the traits I love about the Indian community in all of its different diversities. I love about the Jewish community.
Yeah, so very similar culture. Yeah,
very similar culture.
Need to do that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
Then
I mean, beyond that.
Yes.
I could talk for half an hour about this. All right, very quickly. Fast forward, we had a family manufacturing business in terms of curtaining, which I got involved in. And then later on, my wife and I started, and I heard you talking about fashion.
Yes.
We started a very upmarket fashion fabric store. So if you want to talk about linens and denim and what is viscose and what's brocades, well, why don't you ask me?
Are you still in that business?
Not at all. But all of that. In terms of the other more serious issues of what happens after 3 o'clock, we'll analyse the MK party's position to interdict the first sitting of Parliament. It's a huge issue, right? So we'll talk about that. Joburg, the city of Joburg, no load shedding. It hasn't arrived, but load reduction has. What that means, right? And then the impact of the Comrades Marathon on South Africa's nation brand, I think is really important.
Yeah.
So all of that put together is what comes up on the National Pulse.
It's amused me this morning as all the news circuits were trying to explain what is load reduction. And I remember last year in conversation with Aldrin saying, but Foy's has been load reducing for almost a year now.
Exactly.
I like it because it means that you are never without power.
Yeah,
exactly. You just can't cook, but you can keep everything else going. That's coming up 3 to 6 with Ashraf Gada today on the National Pulse. Let's take a quick pause and then we come back and we finish the show.
Here on SAFM, we honor the contribution of the youth for our liberation. We also celebrate the liberation of our beloved country. Happy Youth Month, South Africa. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
As we wrap up the show today, Dr. Linda Meyer joins me now, who's an education expert and director of the Rosebank College, and we're talking around navigating the complexities of university admissions. How are you doing, Doc?
I'm well, thank you, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. You know what? I'm going to owe you a bouquet of flowers because whenever we have a conversation around education, I'm always asking you to weigh in, and I appreciate you for ever taking the time.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's always my pleasure. Thank you.
So we know that it is July and, June. I noted today because I saw so many kids, out and about at 11. And then it clicked that, it's June exam time, which means already that kids are in the midst of doing their prelims that will be used for university applications. And that comes with its own unique sets of challenges and sort of hurdles for them to get over.
Absolutely. So not only is it the stress that they're facing of the exam, but it's also the stress of looking to their futures and really getting into institutions for programs that are their first choices and institutions that are their first choices. So there is this other complexity they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. And let's look at that. Let's look at managing. We've spoken about managing stress during these periods, but let's look at navigating around expectation, because essentially that is the root cause of the stress and the anxiety, is the expectation.
Absolutely, and it's important that parents manage their expectations, because we do not want students not to do well and then, to feel suicidal at the end of this or not supported. This is not the end of the world. People need to do as much as they can to prepare for exams, and parents need to support their children through this period, but don't be unrealistic, because we don't want this to be the be-all and end-all of someone's life and their world. So preparing essential, support essential, and this is how we then navigate through this particular period.
Mm-hmm. And when you say it's important for parents, let's elaborate on that a little bit, because I almost feel as if parents don't at times click into how their expectations, can translate to their children and what that kind of breeds within their kids.
Absolutely. So for children, they obviously want to please their parents. They want to do well. They other complexity sometimes where children are coming out of households that are not financially wealthy, and this child's future is really seen as the future of the family. So there's that complexity. Then there's also parents that are unrealistic. Their child might not have the cognitive ability to become a medical doctor, but they're putting this type of pressure on the child, which is not realistic, and it really negatively affects the child. So manage who the child is, what they're capable of, and ensure that your role always as a parent is to support. It's not to drag down. It's not to make your child disassociate with the context that they're currently engaging with, but really supporting them through this process.
And when we look at expectations and versus available options, right? You talk around how frustrating it is for a child to have this dream, and by extension for their family to have this dream. You've picked your institution, you know where you want to go and study, but you just don't get in, or something happens to derail you, which is a real possibility that perhaps we don't plan around when we're making these plans around where to go and where to apply.
Yes, absolutely. And there are many options that are available to students in the alternative. So they don't necessarily have to go to a university, or, if they don't get into UCT or WITS or UJ or Rhodes or wherever it is that they want to go, there are other alternatives. And sometimes it's better just to take a year and do something else before you go and study, because once you commit to that 3 or 4 year degree, you really are stuck in that environment. And you might find out after the first year that you absolutely hate what it is that you're studying. You thought you wanted to be an accountant, you thought you wanted to be a medical doctor, but the first sight of blood, you faint. So it's not, what our dreams and ambitions are not necessarily matched to the reality of the qualification and what that career is actually going to entail.
We also don't take into account that the admissions process, it really just caters for a very small number of students, considering the number of students that actually graduate from matric.
Absolutely. So from our matric graduates, if we look at the number of people that are eligible for higher education study, it's just over a third that will make it into public universities. There's around 210,000 spaces, and that number doesn't really increase in public institutions very much unless we open new universities. So we know there's 2 new universities planned, but they'll take maybe 3 or 4 or 5,000, in a 6 or 7 year span. So where do the other students go? And that then becomes important.
What say you, Dr. Linda? And I know I'm going to say this knowing full well and very conscious of the economic limitations within South Africa, right? We know a lot of our students cannot afford to pay for tertiary education or even secondary education. We know the economic environment that South Africans are battling. And with that, I'm still going to say this. I often find in conversation with, senior high schoolers, and when you throw in the curveball of, have you considered looking beyond the horizons of South Africa? Have you considered what else the continent and the world might have to offer you? That it's always often as though you're switching on a switch that has not been lit before. And I think our sort of view can be very limited as South Africans at times. And what say you for expanding one's horizons and looking beyond the 26 universities that South Africa has within its borders and looking to other territories and other opportunities that, the world can present?
Absolutely. And why it is important to look beyond is we must understand that universities want top-tier students. It doesn't matter from where they are, but they also have particular programs for African students, students from Asia, and if you've done well, you can virtually get about 100% bursary. Some of the universities in Japan, for example, even pay you a stipend. They pay for flights if you are a top-tier student and you've done well. So for the students that are bright and have done well and have had an environment that has supported their learning journey, that opportunity is a real reality for them. For other students, once they've got their first degree and maybe in university, you take the time and do very well in that degree. The opportunities to do a postgraduate study is exponential. Most embassies in South Africa offer scholarship programs. So when students leave South Africa, it's not that you're leaving the country or abandoning the country. It's that you go to expand your global horizon. Often, money is sent back to South Africa, so there is that support mechanism. Go and get global experience and then come back and be a business leader. Don't be closed to opportunities that present themselves.
Let's look at some alternatives perhaps that can also be considered that some would go, okay, these are more realistic, Bridge. Don't tell me about, looking beyond my borders. Give me things that are realistic within my reach. What would you advise?
So there are very real, tangible things for students that do not. So there are students that qualify for NSFAS, but they might not get a space in a public university. TVET colleges are also funded through the NSFAS program, and don't just automatically discard them. I always say it's better to be an employed plumber than an unemployed lawyer. Keep your options open. You can go and do a technical program, and then you can apply to university. Nothing stops you from doing that once you have that income. A next option is really learnerships and internships. Each of the SETAs, the 21 sector education and training authorities, offer paid learnerships, which means that you complete a qualification while an employer takes you into the workplace and you then work for them. And the YES program is a prime example of that. It's an excellent program that supports students. Also look at internship opportunities. There are many companies that run these annually, the big corporates, because they obviously get points in terms of their BEE certificate, and their corporate social investment is positively impacted. And then look at distance learning. UNISA has many NSFAS students if you can't afford it, but also it allows that affordability. You can take 3 or 4 or 5 modules, whatever it is that you can afford, and you don't have that added burden of accommodation far away, or there's additional costs that you then need to bring. So be open to the opportunities. It might be an interim solution for you while you decide what it is that you want to do, but you can study, you can earn an income, or you might be able to qualify for NSFAS if you earn 350,000 your household or below, and then you can look at TVET colleges and then articulate after that into university.
Yeah. Dr. Linda Meyer, always appreciate the time. And Dr. Linda is an education expert and the director of Rosebank College. Just before we wrap up, let's jump to WhatsApp to hear from you about your first jobs.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Hi Bridget, I'm Mabatu from Dobsonville. My first job was being an intern producer, and the lesson I'd like to share is adaptability is important because you need to be able to adapt to a fast-paced environment, and the whole transformation from school to work, it's a bit difficult, but you need to be able to adapt.
Afternoon, Bridget. You are speaking to Bongmusa Matebula here from Danhausa, KwaZulu-Natal. Hey, Bridget. Hey, man, I've been working as a security officer, man, from 2013. Yeah, 2013. And you won't believe that I'm still a security officer even today. Even now, I'm on site. So, yes, I do enjoy my job, and I never thought I would be a security even now, but hey, here I am. I'm still a security. Have a wonderful day, Bridget. Thanks.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
I am here for any kind of gainful employment, and there's no job that is a bad job. And you can go from security officer to back of house. I've got plenty stories. There's another security officer / receptionist I once worked with at my previous radio station who studied, got some qualifications and experience, and ultimately ended up being the sponsorship manager. So anything is possible. Thank you for sharing your experiences. And of course, Ashraf and the team are taking over. But first, Madupi is bringing you the 3 o'clock news. From mine, we'll see you tomorrow. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge. The top stories is our Parliament cancels flights for MK party members and moves to address the water challenges in Tshwane. A very good afternoon. Parliament says it has cancelled all flight and accommodation arrangements for MK party members after the party informed the institutions that they will not attend the first sitting. Parliament spokesperson Moloto Mothapo says they take note of the MK party's dispute regarding the election results. The party has also indicated